Good morning and welcome to Morning Movie News, where it seems that Universal Studios has really found its niche, at least when it comes to the theme park business, and that's promoting other studios' properties. Yes, after finally being able to challenge Disney in the theme park biz, thanks to Warner Brothers' Harry Potter franchise, they're now taking their Halloween Horror Nights experience to the next level with Netflix's Stranger Things. When you think about it, why wouldn't they do a Jurassic World walkthrough, right? I mean, this new one, Fallen Kingdom, the whole selling point is that it's supposed to be more of a horror film than the last couple of entries, and they have a whole Jurassic World land at these theme parks, so why wouldn't you? I mean, I guess it's hard to do the dinosaurs, right? I don't know, you could do sound effects, spend a little money, Universal. Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom could use the promotion. But anyway, Netflix's Stranger Things is a very hot commodity, and it's, of course, a lot cheaper to recreate. That's right, in 2018, you'll be able to enter the Upside Down in Hollywood, Orlando, and Singapore, only with Universal Studios. And I've actually done these Halloween Horror Nights, and I think they're pretty darn good. Everybody loves a good Halloween maze, right? But Halloween Horror Nights, I think, has very good production values. You have the rest of the theme park at your disposal. I think it's just a little bit of a, I don't know, some of you might love that, homemade experience, which in many ways is even scarier, right? You're like, I don't know if this is an accredited business. Oh boy. But I think Halloween Horror Nights are a lot of fun. I've only done them a couple of times. Once I was in Hollywood, and I got to do it there. My sister and I went, and I really like the cinematic ones in particular, being a movie fan. And they had Psycho one year, funny side story. And they had a bunch of Norman Bates walking around when you got off the tram. And it was so funny. One Norman Bates in particular, my sister was like, "You're very talented. You're a great actor. I hope you have an agent." And it must have been so hard for this actor because, it's really tough being a struggling actor in Hollywood, so you really want, recognition is so great, and this actor couldn't break character. It was fabulous. It was so good. You could see him having a little bit of a deer in the headlights situation, where he's like, "Oh, I want to say thank you and maybe ask if you know an agent, but I can't." So he was quite good. But it's a lot of fun to do these, and they're not too scary, and as someone who gets scared easily, I appreciate that. Now, Halloween Horror Nights is certainly not new, and as I just pointed out, they've done movies before, so why is Stranger Things such a coup? Well, they usually showcase horror films, and Stranger Things, while it has a horror element, is mainstream. It transcends the genre. I think that many of you, for instance, might have never done a Halloween Horror Nights at Universal before, but maybe you're tempted now if you can experience Stranger Things. I think it gets more, it broadens the appeal of the event. And also, I think maybe, because, it has, kids are the stars and they have a lot of fans. Maybe more families might be into Halloween Horror Nights because of this. And I wonder how Universal will handle that. Will they have certain family-friendly entry times? But anyway, Disney, because of course these theme parks are locked in competition, Disney has Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party, which I've also done, and it's also great, but it's a very different experience. But as you've seen over the last couple of years, ever since Harry Potter came to Universal Studios theme parks, Disney has gotten a little bit more, they've aged up in terms of the appeal of their rides, more thrill rides. And so maybe they need a more thrilling Halloween event. And if Universal keeps leveling up like this and getting mainstream properties, Disney might have to rethink their own Halloween options. They have like some Sleepy Hollow Headless Horseman event. I actually just sent me, I read it on a fan site. I love theme parks. And this is like at one of their camping grounds, the Fort Wilderness Campground, but it's not as heightened as the Halloween Horror Nights. It's more of like a quiet, dessert party event. We're talking full theme park wide event. And you know what? With the Fox acquisition, they could maybe do this. They would not only have New Mutants, for instance, they could do a New Mutants experience. But what if they did like Alien, right? They would have that property. And so that might be another reason that they really want that Fox acquisition to go through. Who wins in the theme park wars? Again, the answer is that we do. I'm curious, do you attend Halloween Horror Nights? Might you now do so because of the Stranger Things experience that will be available? What do you think of Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party? And do you think Disney can successfully host a more grown-up and scarier event at their theme parks? I think they can. They could just put it at Hollywood Studios. It doesn't have to, Magic Kingdom can stay all ages friendly with that not so scary Halloween party, and then they could clean up with oh boy, an alien event is really good. They should seriously consider that. All right, so that's the first story of the day. Now, the second story of the day is also about Stranger Things, where it seems that real life is scary enough for the Duffer Brothers. They don't need some fancy experience because they are getting hit left and right with serious accusations. Now, they just had to deal with being accused of verbally harassing female employees on set. Seemed to emerge from that unscathed, or at least still alive. But now they've been hit with a lawsuit that they stole the idea for Stranger Things. And this is allegedly how it went down. So Charlie Kessler claims that he made a short film called Montauk, and he had a script ready to go for a movie version of the short. That's the way you do things. You make a short film, you take it to the film festivals, and then you say, do you like this? Or it got awards, here's my feature-length version. So that's what he was doing. And one of the festivals that he attended was the Tribeca Film Festival. And he was at a party with the Duffer Brothers, and he pitched them this idea. I don't know why he was pitching to them at a party, but he was. Now, I'm not sure if he was invited to do so, but somehow he got their email address, and he did email them as a follow-up to that conversation all his materials for Montauk. And he says that they use that for the basis of Stranger Things. Now, at first glance, with the material that's been the information that's been provided up front for this lawsuit, they seem a little similar. But, it would depend on whether or not Charlie Kessler had a character like 11, if he had a place like the Upside Down, because a lot of ideas are similar. You have to get down to the minutia and just how close they are. You have to have that breaking point where you're like, yeah, that's just too close for comfort. I think you took this idea. Now, the reason I'm bringing up this story, in addition to it being an interesting news story, is that I'm sure many of you have wondered, and I've been asked this numerous times, why can't you openly submit to studios, talent agencies, etc., and also actors, right? Oh, you'd be a perfect fit, or a director, you should see my script. Well, this is why you can't do it, right? They don't want it, and you don't want to give it to them. Never send in materials without having been specifically asked for them, and never open materials that you haven't asked for. Ideas are worth a lot of money, so protect them. And I remember, it's a two-way street. Some of you might be like, okay, I just want to protect my ideas from being stolen. But also, you have to protect someone from accusing you of stealing their idea, because if it's just even vaguely similar, and sometimes people get inspiration sometimes from world events or cultural events, and so it's not unusual that some people could think of the similar things that aren't exactly the same at the same time. And also, it is a legal issue as to what point you've ripped somebody off. Maybe the Duffer Brothers said, this is a good idea, but we've changed it so much. Does that person deserve credit? I don't know. If you genuinely took the idea from someone, I think they deserve a story by or some kind of credit, right? We'll see how this case shakes out. But the Duffer Brothers, it's interesting. They were so popular for a while there and had such an amazing image. And now, they're not looking so good, right? So we'll see how this one, if they can survive this latest problem. And I'm curious to what you think about it. What do you think of the way, Hollywood handles the protection of ideas? You can only protect an idea so much, which is something else you have to consider. And, Charlie Kessler, by the way, this must have been a difficult decision for him to sue, because it's unlikely that he'll ever work again because, he's being litigious. But he probably feels they've made so much money at this point and his career isn't moving forward, he has nothing to lose. Because you might think, why didn't you bring this lawsuit when season 1 came out? Or they even just announced Stranger Things. And I think that Charlie Kessler was probably hoping that he would find his own success. And also, you have to get a lawyer who's willing to take the case, et cetera, et cetera. All right, so those are the first two stories of the day. And the third is this will have a little bit of a lighter story. And that's the Golden Globes, which have aired on NBC for 25 years, now could potentially be airing somewhere else. Because for some reason, NBC is just not that into it anymore. What's happened is that they have let the window lapse for exclusive negotiations to renew the contract. So NBC could still make a deal, but now the Golden Globes is free to hear from other distribution sources. And the reason I specify that is that I have an interesting idea of where I think it could potentially end up. Now, the Golden Globes, now sure, maybe we've seen declining ratings over the past few years for awards shows, but still, the Golden Globes ain't too shabby. It's third behind the Oscars and Grammys in terms of viewership and audience interest. So it's definitely something of value, I think, to any network. And it is weird that NBC doesn't want it. Now, these awards shows have lately become a showcase for late-night talent. And on NBC, that's Jimmy Fallon, Seth Meyers, who both recently hosted the Golden Globes, and then of course their SNL talent like Amy Poehler and Tina Fey when they co-hosted, right? And even though they weren't on SNL anymore when they hosted, they're still very close with Lorne Michaels. They do a lot of work together. They're very much involved with NBC, et cetera, et cetera. So, and also with Fallon and Myers, the ratings weren't that good. So maybe NBC is like, why are we paying to host a show that points out that our late night hosts can't bring in an audience, right? A primetime audience. And they're not even doing that well in late night. Fallon and Myers are trailing behind, Colbert, Corden, Kimmel. They're all doing much better. So maybe NBC's like, we have enough problems. We don't need to have the Globes right now. So who else could take the Globes? Well, obviously, it could be another network. It could be a cable channel. But I would think maybe a streaming service should go for it. Apple, for instance, and nobody's really, a streaming service has never hosted a live event like this before, but they totally could. And Apple, for instance, everyone's talking about like, oh, well, Apple really wants to get into content. Should they buy a studio, et cetera, et cetera? Will they do a homegrown content division? But this would be, I think, a great fit for them because they're so good at the movie rentals, right? So, and even when awards season, starts, Apple TV and iTunes is always showcasing awards movies. So wouldn't it be great if they could say, hey, watch this live event, and then you could click through to the movie that just won or put it on your viewing list? I think it's really good, a really good brand fit. So that's what I would be interested in seeing happening. And I'm curious, do you still watch the Golden Globes? Do you have any particular interest in where you watch it? And if you were NBC, do you think they're making the right decision to maybe let this go? All right, so now for the viewer question, some more career advice for you guys after that second story. I have two questions that are very similar, so I've decided to answer them together. So Dusan Karasek said, hi Grace, big fan from Slovakia, Central Europe. Awesome, my ancestry is from Slovakia, so hello. So he says, I'm finishing high school this year and I'm studying economics, boring, and I'm thinking about moving to the USA. I would like to find a job in the movie industry and work behind the camera. Do you think I have a chance to make it real? If yes, what should I do? Thank you for your answer. Have a nice day. And then Giovanna Valente says, hi Grace, question. I have just been accepted to some universities in the United States. I'm Brazilian. I love the global questions. And so Giovanna says, and I've been wondering which one I'll choose considering that I want to double major in economics and drama. How important do you think an actor's alma mater is, and which schools do you think are the best? For example, should I choose a college in New York City or LA because then I might get work more easily? Thanks for answering my question and producing amazing content every day. Oh, you guys are so nice. All right, so Dusan and Giovanna. These are very important questions, and I'm going to give an overall answer in just a moment, but let me just address some specifics first of all. So for Dusan, I think that since you're in high school and you're thinking of moving to both of you are actually about to enter college, and it's a really good situation to try and establish a career while you're in college because you can intern, and then also you already have housing and food because it's included hopefully in your education, or it's at least easier to attain, right? You have kind of like a support system, like a bridge. You don't have to jump immediately into the job pool. So I think that you're both very smart to do that. As for the name of the school that you actually go to, well, we'll talk about something in just a moment, but I just want to quickly first point out that you can easily look up what are the top schools in the category that you're interested in working in. And if you're not going to one of those schools, then it doesn't really matter to who's ever going to hire you, right? I mean, if they don't have a prestigious drama program that people are aware of, it doesn't, it's not going to matter that you study drama to anybody. It's just a hard truth. You have to go to one of the schools that's listed, right? Now, as for where you should go, now, Giovanna said, should I go to New York or Los Angeles? Well, New York and Los Angeles are obviously the two big ones. But also, don't dismiss Atlanta and Toronto, particularly for behind the camera work, Dusan, because there's a big production hubs. A lot of film and television is shot there. Now, also, please, both of you remember that it's a marathon, not a sprint, to get a job in the entertainment industry. You need a plan to sustain yourself economically while you try to build a career. It's not going to happen overnight. So you need to have a backup job, but you also have to have time to be able to pursue the job, your dream job. But you have to be realistic the whole time. Again, it's good that both of you are pursuing this while in college. And always start as early as possible because since it is a marathon, it takes time, and this will give you a 4-year head start. Then when you're looking at schools, not only do you want to go for their pedigree and how their image, but also take a hard look at the connections that they can offer, both with industry outreach and also the alumni program. Are people have people who've graduated from those colleges actually found employment in the areas that you're interested in? That's all very important. Do they have industry outreach in terms of getting you internships and having speakers come in? Hollywood is very much an industry built on connections, so that's very important as well. So good luck to both of you. Break a leg. Thank you for asking. I think you're very smart, both of you, to even think of asking, and it sounds like you are off to a good start. So good luck. And as for today's episode, please write down below, I think, today's top 3 stories, any advice that you might have for Dusan and Giovanna. Of course, anything you'd like to see covered tomorrow, and any questions that you might have. Thanks for watching. Bye.